right, thanks. Good evening. It's 7 o'clock, October 1st. This is the Litchfield Budget Committee. Do I call to order? Yes, I call the meeting to order. Shall we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Public input. It's apparently going to be short and sweet. Nothing major. Okay.
Ray and Dan coming?
I haven't heard anything from anybody about not coming. I don't know if they emailed Cindy, then I did not get them. So, your guess is as good as mine. I could try to talk slow, give them time. So I could try to talk slow and give them time.
No.
Talk fast, we can be out of here by the time they get here.
There you go.
Better.
All right. So are there any review or additions to the agenda? Anything change the agenda? Anything added? Nope, we're all good? All right, so we received the draft copy of the minutes from last Thursday. Did you guys receive that? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so everybody have a chance to take a look at it? Any comments?
Move we accept the minutes?
Second.
All right, so move first and a second. All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
All right. Minutes are accepted. Correspondence. I think the only thing we had were the minutes, unless I missed anything. All right, school reports. We missed you last week, so hopefully.
Missed you guys dearly also.
What you got?
I don't have much. I mean, just, I guess, touch base as far as our budget process. Right now, there's a potential we're a week behind, but I think there's a resolution to that, so I think we can keep on pace by presenting some of the budgets to you beforehand instead of the entire budget package, and that way we can stay on track as far as the time. I will say the administration's done a very good job, and I think you'll be pleased once you receive the packets and start looking at them, that they're much cleaner and I think much more precise than they were last year. So I think it'll help the process move along, especially where we're condensed instead of 10 days, we're in 5 days or 6 days. But I think once you see the budgets, they're a lot cleaner than they've been in the past. So that's really about all I have. Working on his budgets.
Yeah, we're all going to get hard copies?
Correct.
Okay.
All righty. Anything else for school? All right. The town budget review. You're up.
Okay, I'm not sure how you want to do this. I can't log on, so I don't have a copy of the agenda in front of me, so I guess I'll just wing it. How's that sound?
I just have one line item, budget review dash town. That's all I got.
Okay. So just a couple things. Number one, Chairman Couture sent out a draft outline of a schedule. Well, my apologies. Let's start at the beginning. First off, I'd like to present to you Troy Brown, who is the new town administrator replacing Mr. Hoke. Troy is here to help represent the town and present our budget. So I don't know if he's introduced himself to everybody, but if not, if you could just say hello, that would be great. So, if there's anything you want to talk about, Troy, in terms of your background? Anything?
Well, you probably have all kind of read the paper and heard something here and there, but you know, it's this was, I think I'm on my 3rd week now, so starting to get settled in, and you know, it's amazing. We start off doing budgets right out of the start of the job. So you know, it's a lot of work to get to learn your community, all the individuals, the departments, their staff, your individual operating budgets, the history, and some of the warrant articles in town meeting. So I just hope you all bear with me. It takes time to learn all of that as you're trying to work with budget committees and board of selectmen and department heads. But I look forward to it. Litchfield, I've been very impressed with the town of Litchfield so far. It's amazing what you've done. Very active volunteer group, very qualified, and the staff's been tremendous at Town Hall. Got great department heads, so I really look forward to it.
Okay. So I'll begin with the, what I call the budget outline, which will just give you a top-level view of the budget that we're trying to put together, okay? Let me start talking about the schedule. Chairman Couture sent myself, as well as Troy, a copy of the proposed schedule. Asked us to go over that to make sure it was feasible and everything else. Troy and I looked it over. The Board of Selectmen met Monday night. We knocked off a lot of the budgets. And those that we don't, we tried to rearrange that schedule to try and make some logical sense of what was left over in terms of timing and everything else. So that was passed back to Chairman Couture, and I believe she passed that on to the rest of the Budget Committee. No? Did not?
No, well,
You did receive a copy of your schedule, right?
Okay,
Okay, the
Yes,
copy of the
that-
schedule you received is what we've worked on and reprocessed, so,
that's all we've received.
yeah, you should be okay.
Yeah.
Let me begin by saying that the Board of Selectmen just,
I did have a comment on the schedule, though,
okay?
and that's where you have personnel administration scheduled prior to reviewing the fire department. And I don't know how you can do personnel administration if they've done all the departments, because that's where all your salary is and those things. I would think you'd want to move that to the last session. That's when we've always done it.
If you want it the last session, we can consider
That's a good
moving it.
point.
That's,
Yeah.
that's fine, it's not a
It
problem.
all feeds off all the salaries, so.
So, we'll just, okay? So a couple things. There, overall, we're not seeing any changes that we're proposing to make in terms of the town organizational structure or anything like that. In other words, the fire, police, highway, and everything else function the same as it has been in the past year. So we're not seeing that there's any levels of service change or anything of that nature. Couple items in the budget that I'll just present to you of interest, okay? Most of the budgets that you're gonna see from the town are pretty flat, either that or within a couple $100 of each other. When I say each other, I mean 2015 to 2016. There's a couple that will change, we'll get into that in a couple minutes. For gasoline and diesel fuel purchases, we've calculated them at $2.50 a gallon and $2.75 a gallon respectively. Costs for the road salt, we're seeing an increase of $3 a ton for cost of road salt going up. That is due to a lack of supply right now. And inventories are low after last winter and everything's still, from what I understand. So just to make you aware. The lease purchase that we've had, and you've seen in the budgets for the past couple of years on the backhoe, has finished in 2015, so you will not see that in 2016. Always a popular comment, subject to legislative change, is the Highway Block Grant Fund. So last year, we received $173,000 roughly in Highway Block Grant funds. We're expecting that to go up to about $193,000 this year. Now, that will appear to you in the budget as an additional $20,000 of expense, but that's also offset by the additional $20,000 of revenue. So the whole thing is basically stating the expense, and on the revenue side of it, you'll see the $193,000 listed as well. One of the changes that we had that we're proposing from this year is health agencies. Health agencies for the past couple of years went forward as a warrant article. Last year, the warrant article went forward. It was considered by the voters and approved by the voters, I think by quite a margin, as a matter of fact. We were of the opinion that by proposing this as a warrant article, there would be some level of discussion at deliberative session, which, in my recollection, I don't remember that happening. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to put that into the budget and just carry it forward. If it does not seem to be drawing as much attention as we had hoped and comment as we had hoped, we feel we'll put it in the budget, and whatever. And Budget Committee can decide if they want it there or not and go forward from there. But the selectmen have, you'll see the budget, the selectmen have put that into the budget as a,
Yeah, in years past, except the last couple of years, it's always been part of the budget, and the selectmen have always determined how much it should be, and it wasn't necessarily what the agencies asked for.
That's correct.
So we'll see what you put in, whether you put in what the agency asked for, what you think is reasonable, and then we'll do what we think is reasonable.
So, welfare, we've reduced welfare to
Again.
better match what the spending is. We reduced it down, I think, from 20,000 to 15,000.
God.
So, welfare has been overall reduced. That's not such a big deal, and people are gonna ask what happens if you run out of money. The problem, if you run out of money, then you have to take it from somewhere else, because welfare is not an option. You have to pay it, not according to the state law, so. But the new value better represents what we think will have a run rate for the 2016. We also had spent this year approximately $18,000 as a board to pay for legal counsel that was involved in Litchfield has joined a group that is working on the pipeline that will be coming through town. That group is composed of other municipalities all through New Hampshire. As part of that group, we were sharing legal expenses, and the expense for 2015 year-to-date was about $18,000. So we felt that we needed to put money into the budget to consider that. Originally, the Board of Selectmen considered putting that in the legal expense line in the budget. We kicked it around for a little bit, and one of the decisions that we've made is to take that out of the budget and to make it as a separate warrant article. So we will, right now as it stands, we'll hang that as a warrant article and let the voters decide. That will give the voters an opportunity to do two things. One, consider whether they want to spend the money for legal counsel or not. And two, consider whether really they want to be part of the group to consider the pipeline, so.
And three, to go on record on whether or not they support the pipeline or not.
No, that won't answer that. It will
Yeah, it
answer the
will.
question, well, you could infer that, but I'm not sure
Exactly.
I'm not sure that you can say if A, then B.
You can infer.
Because if you do that, I mean, it goes back to the, well, I don't want to go into it.
Yeah.
You say that Litchfield's already spent 18,000 on legal fees?
For
Itself.
that pipeline, yes.
Okay.
For that pipeline group, that was our share of the legal fees. Okay. The next item is, you'll see a change in elections or town meeting. I don't know why we still call it town meeting, but we do. That's the budget department, if you want to call it that. There's going to be 4 elections in 2016. So you'll see the budget will change significantly to consider the additional expenses of running 4 elections, one of which will be a presidential election, which is always a big election, so. Items that we're awaiting further review by the Board of Selectmen. So these items are, I'm presenting them to you, you can think about it, but the end of the line is the Selectmen have yet to make a decision on these items. Right now, the police chief has requested that 2 cruisers be placed into the police budget, okay? I'm assuming the cost, or the cost should be around $43,000 for one of those cruisers.
Are those replacements, Frank?
I haven't even seen the data yet on that, so that's going to be one thing we'll be reviewing in the next couple of weeks, so
No,
I
I
can't
just
answer
didn't know
your
whether
question,
it
Bill.
was, okay.
So 42,000 per cruiser or total?
That'll be roughly per cruiser. I believe each cruiser is worth
30. and then fit
32.
All right.
And then there's an additional 8, give or take, involved in the wigwags and
All right.
cages and stuff.
So, yeah, so when it says approximate cost, then it's just really, it's double that.
Well, that's for one cruiser, so just to clarify. When I said, we had discussed last year as a budget committee trying to get onto the 2-1-2-1 schedule, and it was my thinking that we would be on the 1 for this year, but the police chief has suggested that we need 2. I'll listen to what he has to say, and then the board will make a decision from there.
They're going to be purchased or lease?
The board hasn't made a decision, so we'll figure it out when we get there. Fire department, The fire department has requested that we install exhaust system at the existing fire station. That'll cost us approximately $59,000. Those exhausts system is to remove the exhaust of the fire trucks when they start up. What happens is, once they start the engines, is that diesel smoke that pours into the building, and then they head out to the fire. So what they're trying to do is see if they can make a system or bring a system in that is able to get that exhaust captured and then displaced out of the building. We are also, have yet to go over personnel administration, but as we went through with the warrant article last year, there was approximately $30,000 that we put in for the continuation of the employee pay plan. We're looking to try and do the same type of thing. It's got to be a decision made by the board whether we put that in the budget or how we go with that. So the board hasn't made a decision on that yet. Just to give you an understanding, according to the schedule, there's a couple line items, or there's some budgets that we have not reviewed as of yet. Those budgets are personnel, other insurance, and other insurance, obviously, we need to get the insurance quotes before we can do anything on those, so those are outstanding. Police and police support. Police support, of course, is the dispatchers. Ambulance and fire. Emergency management, which is really part and parcel of fire as well. Solid waste management, animal control, which is a subset of the police, parks and recreation, and library. Now, the Board of Selectmen doesn't necessarily review library, but they set their own budget, and we just pass that along, that's all, so that we can roll that up into our numbers. So overall, that's what you're gonna see.
They're
Questions?
online now, are they?
Is what?
The budgets are online now, are they, on the website?
I'm not sure if the website's turned on or not yet, to be honest with you. I know that.
Yeah, we have no access to it right
Yeah,
now,
no,
that's why I'm
it's
raising
not
the
online
question.
yet, I don't believe.
Yeah, I know we have it online. The selectmen have access to it.
But that's this, isn't it?
No, well, yeah,
So there's some modifications that I know Troy needed to do on this before we kind of make it live and stuff.
okay.
So that's what we're going through right now, just to make sure that it's ready to start accepting the data once it starts to come out of the budget committee, that type of thing.
Okay, because last year, we were able to get on and see exactly what had been proposed,
Mhm.
and what the future budgets were, too, that we hadn't even seen yet. So.
Right, you asked for hard copies last meeting, Bill.
I know, careful now.
I don't have a problem either way you want to go.
No, all
If you
I'm-
want
all I'm
hard
sa- all I'm
copies,
saying is
electronic,
that-
or both.
All I'm saying is that last year, we were given access
Right.
to the selectmen's budget. And if you're going to give it to us this year, then give us the address,
Yeah.
okay?
I don't think it's shared with you yet, and probably, let me meet with the Board of Selectmen Monday night, sort of wrap up more of the budget review process, and then we'll try to see what we can do to get out there.
The thing about it is, we need to modify the actual spreadsheet, okay, to include the appropriate columns that will populate as we're going through the budget.
Yeah.
The thing about it is that we're in the process of trying to do that right now. So it would be confusing to people because the columns are going to change and everything else, and that's why we have to turn it on. So,
Anything else?
Yeah, let me come back to the schedule again, because I got a problem. When I look down, do I have a problem? I looked down on November 5th. Is when we get to see the revenue projection estimate.
okay, that's, yeah,
And honestly, as we're looking at the budget, we really want to look at what the bottom line is, the estimated tax impact. And let's see the revenues at the tail end, after we've already voted on the individual ones here, is really out of sequence. It really should.
We can move those up.
the Budget Committee has said in the past that it doesn't want to review revenues, Bill.
No, I didn't say review. I want to see what the estimate is, because we deal with the impact on the tax rate as opposed to what the actual
I have no problem.
budget number is. And the earlier we can get it, the better,
Definitely, yeah.
because we'd like to see where things are shaking out.
We have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Ask the chairman.
I'm just, do you have any other questions? Anybody have any other questions? This side of the table. You good? This side of the table. You good?
Good.
All right. So I think that wraps up budget review town for this week. You good?
Can I mention one thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Has the budget committee in the past been interested in listening to the town auditors when they come in to give a review to the Board of Selectmen, or?
Excuse me.
Okay.
I
I'm
would defer to
currently,
Mr.
right now,
Spencer.
just coordinating that with
Okay.
the auditors, and it looks like the last meeting in October, I think, I don't have it confirmed yet, they could possibly be there. So,
I don't think so.
in other towns, the budget committee likes to be part of that process, just to listen, and in other towns, budget committee's not been interested, so. Just wanted to make sure, if I didn't send out the courtesy invite,
Well, we appreciate you considering us.
okay.
All
So,
right.
so there's a couple things that I would like to go over, just to make sure that we're all on the same page.
All right.
Number one, reports.
Yep.
Last year, the town currently issues weekly expense reports, and we send those out electronically every week to all department heads. Budget committee didn't want weekly, they wanted monthly reports, which then puts us on a different footing. My question to the budget committee tonight is, what would you like? Would you like to maintain the same system, which you get monthly? Or would you like to get the weekly? Or would you like to get the weekly and monthly?
We're getting weekly now. I'm fine with that.
I don't have a problem with it, but I just want to make sure that we're all working off the same sheet, because as I, doing my Karnak imitation last year, was able to say, we're going to be in a situation at times where I'm going to say, we've expended X, and you're going to say, no, you haven't. And I'm going to say, yes, we have, because we're going to be off by a couple weeks at odd times and stuff like that, if you're using a monthly and I'm using a weekly. That's why I think it's important that we're all on the same sheet.
We should ask Mr. Keating, because he replaced the member who wanted it.
And, yeah, so
Well-
Mr. Keating, what's your decision?
Right, this is an easy one. If it's weekly, let's keep it weekly. We don't want our employees doing any more than they
I
have
was
to
happy
do
with
and punching
weekly,
it
yeah.
in. And weekly is easier to
It
break
makes-
down, and what you're talking about to we're talking about, I don't want, I mean, 90% of issues is communication, so.
The only reason it came up really is if you end the month in the midweek, and then you have end of week, you only have 3 days in a week, so it's not really a full week. So I think that's where, but
I
that's
still-
why the issue came up, but for us,
I
I
still
don't
think if
think
the
it.
selectmen's on a weekly
Yeah.
schedule, we should be on a weekly schedule. It's pretty, I don't want to talk about my predecessor, I
So-
don't know why, but that's.
If we're issuing monthly, we'll
That's fine.
stop that.
Have I gotten a monthly?
I think we're doing weekly.
Weekly,
I
I
think I've
think
heard
is-
that.
I know, but there was, I'm just clearing the.
Stick with
clearing
what
the
you've got.
water.
Stick with what you're doing. Good
That's-
job.
That's fine. Second thing I wanted to get clarity on is how the budget committee's going to do this. Is the budget committee going to review on week 1 and then vote week 2? Are you going to hold all budgets to vote at the end? What do you anticipate that you would be doing? Don't look at me.
I
Don't
defer
look at
that,
me.
I defer that to Bill, because I've only been here.
Well,
for a
why don't we
couple
ask Mr. Bork? Mr. Bork?
I'd say they're gonna vote on them, as you know, the following week, and then they're gonna vote on them again at the end.
We didn't actually vote on individual, we kept them
No,
open.
we did vote the following week, but we didn't vote the bottom
Right.
line
Yeah.
until the end.
Now, I'm asking this question, and I'm fully aware that Chairman Couture is absent.
That's right.
You know, she may have her own ideas on whatever, but I've got to figure out what you want to do, because if you want to do that, then my next question after this is going to be, what do you want to do concerning department heads? For last year's budget, Jason Hoke and I presented it and covered that pretty much. we brought in department heads when the budget committee asked, or when we felt that there was some type of information that that department head had that may be above and beyond what we had, so. So the first question is, how are you gonna handle the budgets?
Yeah, and I think you answered it, though, that we really got to see what the chairman wants to do. I suspect we'll do it the same way we did it last year, which was week afterwards, go through the budget that was proposed a week before and make adjustments to that as we see fit, but not the bottom line, and at the very end, we'll do the bottom line. Because what generated that process was that the town came in at the last meeting with multiple changes, some of which we thought we were going to see, basically healthcare and what have you, but also other changes that we didn't expect to see. And we thought we had already settled it, so.
So we had to open up all the budgets again.
Well, and I want to be fair to us as a board of selectmen, and those changes were, at the end of the year, you know how much money you have not spent, and then can you apply that to items in the budget and try and reduce the tax rate that's going to the citizens?
Understand.
So that's what we're
understand.
trying to do.
Yeah, understand the process, Frank. That's a fine process.
So if,
I think that what happened was we saw some new changes that weren't related to what you just described.
I don't recollect them.
That generated the problem with the committee. And I don't anticipate something like that happening this year.
So in terms of department head attendance, how do you want to, I give you my recommendation and only my recommendation. It might be worthwhile to bring a department head in. And I don't mean anything negative to this, but Troy's relatively new. He doesn't have the history that Jason has. I have some history, but most of it's forgotten. My memory's not as good as it used to be. And maybe for some of the more expensive budgets or complex budgets, we just bring a department head in and have them here. That's my
I
thinking.
thought that was what we had encouraged, but it was decided not to by the board in the past.
It's up to the budget committee.
Oh.
It's not, we don't make the decision as selectmen. It's, if you want somebody there, we will ask them to be there. Now,
I think we have to wait for Cindy to come back,
I
but
can tell you that I spoke to the chair in reference to this, and I think we talked about this at a meeting, and she actually encouraged them to be here
both times.
both times. I know as for the school, most likely we'll have our administration here when the voting is taking place as far as any possible cuts. I believe that the.
so you're going to bring them the second week?
That's the plan, that's right now, because the superintendent and the BA, myself, will be able to present the budget to the budget committee. And I think then you're gonna take it and dissect it, and the second time around is when you're gonna be looking to make cuts and ask questions. And I think that's when that person will be here.
The only concern I have with that, which is what I voiced last year, is that if you review it the first week, bring a department head in the second week, and then you start to make your cuts, you're putting the department head as well as the board and Troy into a situation where we may be able to get you the data, but because you're asking for it that night and you're gonna vote it that night, we may not be able to.
Well, no,
get you the
hopefully the budget
information.
committee will have the budgets in their hands soon enough that if they do have any questions, even before the presentation, that'll be outlined. Or once the presentation's done, if they have questions, to get them to the board.
Right, the flip
Or the
side of
school
what you
board.
just said, Frank, was, it would be that the budget's presented, if we were reading it, we don't see anything out of, or have any questions, then it's presented, and because it's presented, now we go home and now questions come up, so it was brought up in the past, well, why didn't you ask that question last week when it was presented? And it's like, well, we didn't formulate the question then when the department heads was here. So that's why, I guess, what Cindy said, it made sense to have them here both times, but if it was only gonna be once, it's best to have them the second time.
But that's not gonna address the situation that you just described, Chris.
Well,
And that.
We're gonna
let-
face
Let me
it.
finish.
Sorry,
And the situation you described, I can't protect against. When I say protect against, I mean to provide you the data that you're looking for, because we're gonna come to that meeting and potentially be surprised. Now, if on the other hand, you decide, hey, I went home and I got some questions about this,
Email.
email them to the chair.
Right, that's what I mean.
Let the chair then send them to Troy, and then Troy and I can work them through and get the answers and bring it back, and if we need to, we'll bring in the department head to do it.
Exactly.
So I don't have a problem with that. Where I have the problem is when you ask the complex question, like, what's been the last 5 years' run rate of, pencil use in the town hall? We're not gonna be able to give you that answer.
Yeah, but we never asked that question unless we knew the answer anyways.
Well, if you know the answer, then give me the answer, and we can work on it.
Can we just say, we'll try our best. I cannot promise that that situation will not arise. We're all human. There will be mistakes and things that come up. We'll do our best to work with you, but understand that that will likely still occur.
But look, if,
Well, the other option is you then, you
Table
can
it.
say if we,
Yeah.
excuse me?
table it. If it's really, table it. But one more, right, it's like, the department head is here, there's really no answer, right? Let's table it, we'll just finish it the following week. That'll be, I don't anticipate that really coming up. Most of the questions are usually stuff that a department head would know, that we ask, really. I mean, it's their budget, and typically they know the answers, but in the rare case something comes up that's a stump question, last minute, nobody thought of it, we can always table it. I mean, we work together here.
At the same time, I would hope the process would work similar to like what the school board is doing right now, and I'm sure the board of selectmen is the same thing. That we take a week, like right now, I'm looking at budgets that we're gonna be discussing next Wednesday. So when I come into the meeting on Wednesday, I have my questions ready, rather than the budget committee looking at the budget the day of,
Yeah.
and not being prepared with the questions, and that's what happens, then you go a week, then you have all kinds of questions. So if you have it for a week, you should be prepared to ask questions.
Right, during the time it's being presented. Right, I flipped through this, I already have a few questions, and I'm gonna ask them when it's being presented, so.
Well, it just was presented.
What was it?
We gave it to you.
Well, you're
All
gonna,
right.
next week's
So
thought.
rather than formulate what-ifs and
Look at your schedule.
everything,
I just
and
did.
already
What is
worrying
that?
about how this is gonna shake out, do we have anything else that we'd like to discuss that's relevant to the?
Well,
Well,
I didn't hear any
let me
final
address
dec-
Frank's.
I didn't hear any final decision as of yet on whether we bring the department head in.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounded like you were willing to go along with the idea of we bring them in if it's a big budget or if we feel there's gonna be significant questions, or you guys give us questions that we feel we gotta have them answer.
I think it would be appropriate to have fire, police,
Yeah,
sanitation, and the roads
Dave will be
on the
unhappy.
days that it's presented. And it's our obligation to have looked at the budget
Agreed.
and know the question we want to have and possibly get to you ahead of time, but at least you'll know, once we've sat down that first session, what the issues are, if there are any. And if there are things that might be brought up the following week, they should be raised at that meeting. And we should be raising them at that meeting.
And I perfectly understand that there may be things that somebody says, oh, Christ, that leads me to a different belief about the budget. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is, give us the time to get the
But we
answers.
did have an established email chain, things went through the chair and funneled to the appropriate member, and then we went back. So there is a method of communicating those questions.
A very slow method of communicating.
It's that, or you have a potential illegal meeting by email. You know, what are you gonna do? So,
Where are we, Troy? What did we say?
So you were gonna go and say something?
Pardon?
You had something you were gonna say?
No, I'm done. I've already told you that.
he suggested
I'd like to
certain-
see your major department heads here for the initial presentation.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other comments related to the review? Mr. Pascucci?
Nope, we're good.
All right. Frank, anything else anybody wants to discuss? We're good? Good until next week, relative to the review?
I thought
Start formulating our questions? All right. So that brings us to member input and old business. Anybody have anything? This side of the table? All good? Bill? Side of the table?
Is there another section after this? Like I said, I don't have much.
Public input, and then adjourning.
Okay, so if it's member input time, Mr. Pascucci sent an email to the Board of Selectmen, I'm assuming as a Budget Committee member,
No.
but the statement on the email was that
Well, just to be clear, don't assume it was a budget committee. It said on the bottom, Litchfield resident and taxpayer.
but I have to assume it was as a member of the Budget Committee.
Which address
so-
did you use your government email address?
No,
or-
I used my personal. Now, why would you, let's start off, why would you have to assume?
Anyways,
that?
the point.
No. Why would you have to assume?
Because you're always a town official, Chris.
Whoa, not according to some members
No,
of this board.
absolutely wrong, Frank. You're 100%
So-
incorrect.
The point,
So let's make it clear before you go further. That email I sent came from my personal email to each Board of Selectmen member, including the town administrator, and it was signed as my name as a citizen of Litchfield and taxpayer. So just for the record, please don't assume because you are incorrect. Now you can move forward with what you're about to say.
So,
We start the
as
premise.
part of the Budget Committee operation, Mr. Pascucci expressed a concern about the Board of Selectmen limiting or eliminating the ability of the Budget Committee to consult with council. And I want to clarify exactly what that's all about and what the Board of Selectmen said.
Okay.
The only thing that the Board of Selectmen said was that if you want to go and consult the town council, you should work through your chair and have your chair ensure that that communication to town council is clear and everything else. On the other side of that, all that we've asked for is the response from town council to copy both the budget committee, if the budget committee is the one requesting that, and the Board of Selectmen, so that we all have the same information, period. It did not limit, Mr. Pascucci, any ability of the budget committee to consult with council.
Okay, and the premise of the email I sent was there was a concern with a discussion. As a citizen, there was a concern with the discussion, and something was brought up about who was using the New Hampshire Municipal Association and the boards, because part of the conversation was nobody was using that, very, very little use, and then it was said that, well, the Budget Committee used them. So I, as a citizen, referred back to the discussion way back about what Mr. Byron just clarified on how, I guess it might have not been worded well, but maybe limited, because it used to be any, because the rules, according to the NHMA, is any elected person can contact the NHMA until the Board of Selectmen changed that and put some roadblocks up in the middle. So that was the premise of that email.
So you can clearly understand why I accepted your email as being a representative of the Budget Committee, because it was discussing Budget Committee issues.
I thought we'd already resolved all this.
But
So did I, but I'm just bringing it up to
But
make
that's
sure
all
that
well
there's
and
no
fine, but
Were you
a
discussing
citizen
the
of.
funding of the?
No, well, no, a citizen of the
Is
town
this-
could watch a meeting and notice something and then bring it up to you. Anybody could
Okay.
have said that
Is
same
this the
thing.
appropriate venue for this discussion?
Probably not.
I think it is from the perspective of what the procedure is for the Budget Committee to get council's opinion.
But we established that previously, right? So nothing's changed from before.
Right.
So rather than throw barbs, we're good?
I'm not throwing Bob, I'm just responding to making sure everyone understands, because we do have a new member that,
Okay, but,
And I guess on the same note,
we have actually Mr.
all right.
Brown here who has not.
But the board itself has not questioned the procedure.
But now, I guess we also now have to further that, I mean, it is clear that just because you're an elected official, you don't give up your rights as a citizen. So
That
I
is
think
true.
that's 100% clear, and everybody here should know that. That's why it's, I noticed too, if a selectman happens to stand up and walk around the other side of the table and sit in the audience while the other four members are talking, they're a citizen, or they also could talk in the community input as a citizen just by going to the other side of the table. So it is legal and correct
Okay.
to do such.
Could I add something too? I think it's important when we do, as a board, write to the newspaper, or go on blogs, or go on whatever, internet or social media, and when we have those conversations, articulate the fact that we're stating as a citizen
Oh,
and not a
absolutely.
member of the board.
Oh, that's clear.
And I
Also-
think, well, but I think in times past, that hasn't been, and it gets caught up in those things, so I think.
Oh, yeah, no, because there's also Facebook pages,
Yeah,
and closed Facebook pages that are on, and you're right, it could get blurry.
And I think, personally, myself, I mean, I don't do, I mean, any of that stuff, but I think, as a board member, I sit here, we come and I vote and do my, what I was done to elected, but I also don't want to be, if someone else has an opinion that's totally opposite of mine, I don't want to be brought in there if it's on a board or something, when someone gets into that blurry situation.
It's a personal choice. I've learned that an elected official only has power when they're in a room in a quorum.
Well, I know that, well, you know that, and I know that, but I don't think your low-information folks may not know that.
Well, now you're opening up a big can of worms.
Well, I'm not opening up a worm. I just want to make sure that, looking
Sure.
forward, that, as a board member, we come in and when we come in together and we vote and
Right.
do what we're supposed to do, but outside of that, that is articulated in any
Correct.
type of, again, through a blog, through websites, through the
Letter to the
newspaper,
editor,
through
right, you
letters. to
sign
that.
it as
All right.
citizen.
So
True.
we're getting off track here.
Right.
Now, I know a little off track, but I know we're coming into this time when all
Yes,
that
no,
stuff
it's
starts rolling.
absolutely.
And I think that's important to articulate at the front, so.
Okay, we're good? Everybody's okay. Any other member input? Anybody else have anything they'd like to say? No? All right. Old business, so then we open it up to public input. Still a quiet crowd. All right.
Unless somebody wants to walk around to that side of the table.
Would you like to do so?
No,
We can
I'm
put a
good,
table
thank
there. You Good? All right. So I guess that brings us to adjourning. Anybody like-
Motion to adjourn.
Any seconds?
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.